Good evening, good afternoon, or even good morning, depending on the time zone you are in. Welcome to Julius Mbaluto Live. We are so happy you have chosen to be with us, and we appreciate that quite a lot. You know what? It's another Sunday, and today we are going to we are planned to talk a lot. We have a lot planned for you in this particular show. So join us from wherever you are. Feel free to share the link. Feel free to participate, ask questions, send comments. Feel free. This is all about our show. Our topic today, the only issue of diversity in this country. So our question is, does UK appreciate diversity? So that is the question that we have. Does UK appreciate diversity? We just want to take this at the back of a background whereby we are just coming from a week whereby we saw football results, Italy versus England, and of course, Italy won. And then after that, what followed? Three black players were targeted, abused in racial terms. And of course, a lot of people in this country have stood on their ground in support of these players who have achieved quite a lot than those who were expressing their hate in different ways. So that's kind of a tip of an iceberg. But today, to talk about this, I'm joined by great people here. I'm with a man called JJ, and also with Vicky Ngari Wilson, all the way from Sweden. And also we have a man called Jay. I say a man called JJ, just a man called J. Just remember that. So we are here to be with you also. You are welcome to join the program. Shall we start with, I give you a chance at least. Say what you do and who you are briefly. With ladies first, of course, Vicky, Gary Wilson, the first opportunity.
Thank you so much, Julius. It's good to see you again after many years. And JJ, it's always good to see you. I am what the title says. I am a lecturer as well as a sustainable fashion designer. Thought leadership is something that has come along as a tag. It's more about just putting ideas forward that's centered around African women, diversity, including our voices, our practices, and ancient principles into various industries. So I guess that's where the thought leadership comes from.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm going to say apologies. You were also supposed to be joined by Dr. Pauline Law, but because of circumstance beyond control, she didn't make it. But we fire on. It's your turn, a man called Jay. What does a man called Jay do?
Okay, you see, look, I am, how do they call it? Is a master of, a jack of all
What?
trades,
Uh-huh.
but master of none. Now, but I think I have mastered one. It's just to be a master of jack of all trades. So, because these things that I do, actually, it is out of frustration. I am frustrated. Sometimes I'm looking for a cameraman. I can't find a camera person. I want to do sound person. I can't find a sound person. But of course, I studied sound. That is my background. I'm also a musician. So all these things that you see me do, I might say it is an inbuilt talent. I've got these transferable skills. So
Absolutely.
yes, so something that I have studied at school or at uni, I don't sit around and say, well, I only studied to do sound only. But if you put a camera into my hand, I will sit down, see what other people do, and then also I become a cameraman. So that's
And just
it.
to go back to the topic, that stands for
Yeah.
very many Black people in Britain, not just myself, and obviously not just Black people, but as Black people, especially ones that work in the creative industries, we've had to figure it out and learn how to do things ourselves. I can do makeup, and I've done makeup professionally in the industry. as a stylist. Of course, that's where my journey started. Working in production, my degree in writing, and I've had to put all these together to do project management in various different roles. If we go into a photo shoot now, I'm going to put on a producer hat on, and I'm going to be behind the scenes, glamour off, and getting it done. So, but in the forefront, and for the sake of
Yeah.
non-diversity and putting me in a box, I'll be the former beauty queen and fashion designer.
You see, so a man called Jay, you are not alone. And you are pretty much, you are
Man,
very humble. You are fully fledged technologists. You are driving technologies and in different ways. And you are not just there by chance. You are fully trained. It's your trend, and you do very well. So you are very humble. I appreciate that. But
And JJ also followed me in my research. You know, when I
yeah,
we went to Cambridge M&A, Museum of Anthropology and Archaeology, he followed me deeply in my research and also contributed to, some knowledge towards the artifacts. So you could say he's also a research producer.
yeah,
But
exactly. Researcher,
right
producer.
on that title.
Sometimes you
yeah.
will end up being the runner too.
Oh, that I have done that too. I've done that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
The same thing when it comes also to my trend as a journalist. We also have these. In some cases, you ever heard about multi-platform journalist? You are doing one story, but it's gonna be covered by radio, on TV, online, on newspapers. That's what you call multi-platform journalists. And yes, by the way, when we combine all our efforts together, what we are saying is that we work very hard, because you're doing some things like, if you were to talk about what you're doing alone, it's job skills for different people, maybe four or five, or one person doing all that. So we just want to give credit where it's due. I mean, Vicky, all the realms of what you do also, uh, it could be done by many people, but still you're doing that. So we just appreciate what each of you does. So anyway, back to our topic of the day. Does Britain appreciate its diversity? You see, let's give ourselves a bit of context. When we saw in America George Floyd under the knee of a police officer, and we physically saw that, and it triggered different emotions. I think protests were all over the world, even in Africa. I saw in Africa, in different countries, them protesting saying Black Lives Matter. And then someone made a joke, but you're all black there. So it's so funny. But you see everywhere, everyone is like, no, 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 this was totally unacceptable. And here in the UK, of course, the same thing went. And maybe we see an example of what was going on through the clip that JJ is going to show us right now, how it was in Britain just after the death of George Floyd. What happened in the UK? Well, I was there. I was there. I covered Black Lives Matter protests from beginning to the end. Biggest narrative that came out of this particular protest was the UK was not innocent. There were talks about institutional racism. There were talks about police brutality at the same time. There were people wearing T-shirts with the numbers of the people who died in through police brutality. Of course, the UK police tried to say, "Hey, here we are a bit kind of okay," but that no one wanted to listen to that. And then we saw what happens next with the movement of Black Lives Matter. It just went global. And I just don't want to be the one who talks about it alone. I mean, Vicky, when you saw this, what was your immediate reaction, and how did it come across to you?
Well, I think the George Floyd movement, or the movement that George Floyd ignited, it was it. I think for many Black people, I know for me, it wasn't a shock at the beginning because we've been hearing about many George Floyds in amongst Black people for a long time. The movement and the unveiling of the emotions that we go through as Black people in the West is what really hit me more than anything, because then we were able to talk about to each other, or about the microaggressions, the nuance, everyday nuances that we have as a Black experience in the West. So that's when it got really heavy, and it was almost like being in an abusive relationship for a very long time, and then until you leave it or until you realize, it's like that's when you feel the shock of what you've been the exhaustion of what you've been going through. That's the best way for me to explain this whole experience. And then for me personally, I had to detach from the BLM movement through social media for a while, because it was too much for me mental health wise, not because I'm turning my back on the on the concept of the movement and the reasoning of raising our voices, but it's so much. So I would like, yeah, I mean, obviously when the verdict came out, I had no emotion because it just is not justice in my eyes. He's got basically the same sentencing. I think a black man that had gotten out of prison recently in America. He went and voted by mistake. He didn't know that he could vote, so that now he could be back in prison for another 40 years for voting. So 40 years. I mean, Derek Chauvin has the same. There's no justice for me. However, the best thing that's come out of it is that we and so many other people from other nations are more aware of the daily issues and emotional and spiritual issues that as Black people you go through, and the trauma that has come from so far in history.
Yeah. Brilliant. I mean, yeah, the thing it's definitely triggered different emotions globally, not just US. It became a global thing whereby most countries people were protesting. What about a man called JJ? What was your immediate reaction? Were you like, there we go again, or we know this, or no, this is typically different?
Well, okay, because we want to carry on with the theme of whether Britain
You're coming to that? No
appreciates.
worry.
Well, okay, good, good. Right. Coming to your question, it surprises me. We are always shocked when we see things repeating themselves. You have to remember 1993 in Los Angeles, there is that guy who was beaten up by the police, and the police was not found guilty. And the the riots, in fact, they even caused more damage than the George Floyd one. Now, these events, they keep happening all the time. It seems that the, 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 the people of black origin, that's how I like to call them. I don't like to call ourselves black because we don't use that black. You go to Africa, nobody says you are a black person. They know you are a Kenyan, you're a Tanzanian, that's a full stop. So it looks like we forget so easily the history of what is happening within the African people, whether they're in America, whether they're in China. So when George Floyd, when the incident happened, it looked like as if it has never happened before.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, the following month, somebody else was killed in the same way. George Floyd was killed. Now, for me, it looks like we do not have formative action. Because you see, the President of the United States will come onto the podium and say beautiful words, and then everything is okay. Just like, oh, yeah, well, the United States President has just said racism is not tolerated. Well, if you really mean it, take affirmative action. This is what I would like to see, that if a policeman, whether white or black, kills a person in the United States, that person should go to jail automatically, especially these days when you have got videos. Everything is reported on. Man, thank God for mobile phones. Because here, they have been even in the trial, they were presenting the case academically. Can you imagine? The video is there. You are on the film. It was filmed by a passers-by. But now, yes, now you want to say, you want to bring in this, the law. I dislike the law, even when it protects us.
A man called Jay. The law is a funny thing sometimes. The law is a funny thing. Because you see, from the public mind, from the judgment of what people saw, they're like, no, we saw it. End of story.
Exactly.
But the law will begin to analyze at what angle was the knee. Are you sure the knee was on the neck? Let us calculate the distance between the neck and the knee.
And then,
wow. They
want to bring in medical records of George Floyd. Yeah. Forget the medical records, man. The man was killed there and then. Oh man!
Wow!
Yeah.
You know what? We are going for a quick break. When we come back, we're going to zero down. That's Britain. Appreciate its diversity. We were just laying ground.
Niajiwase. TapTap Send Money Transfer has launched its app in Kenya. Send money to M-Pesa and Kenyan bank accounts. Send money quickly at the best rate. Hustle-free. Available in the UK, France, Italy, Spain, Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany. Turkey too.
Well, this show is sponsored by TapTap Send, and of course, we want to add on that. If you are in Canada, you can still send money through TapTap Send. It's an addition to many other destinations where TapTap Send is operational. We went away talking about, does Britain appreciate its diversity? You see, we did use that clip for a reason, just to see how was the reaction about George Floyd death. But away from that, it triggered many other things, underlying issues. And a lot of things were being spoken about how people cannot access opportunities because of the color of their skin. There was a lot of banners flying around during that movement, how people feel oppressed, discriminated against, feeling that even if you really were aspiring to the topmost seat in any field of academy or even politics, whichever you chose, a lot of people saying, yeah, there's a top ceiling. It's not seen, but it's there somewhere in the sky. When you're dreaming, they tell you the sky is the limit, but these people are saying that in the UK there's a top ceiling before the sky. So your dreams are not about sky is the limit, it's about there's a top ceiling before the sky. And therefore that really brings the message home. So my question, does Britain appreciate its diversity? We saw a well-tested situation just after the Black Lives Matter movement went ahead. And then with all this emergency of intolerance to statutes and all these, artifacts about slave owners being respected, racist people being given honor, them coming down and all that. Then we had a different moment whereby you have British far-right movement as well, coming with their pseudo-nationalism. I'm calling it pseudo-nationalism because it's not your typical nationalism. Typical nationalism is about embracing everyone, treating everybody like a child of God, like yourself. treating everyone with maximum respect, not seeing race, not seeing color. That's what proper nationalism means. Who is around? Who is your countryman? Why are they born here? Yeah, so it doesn't matter the color of their skin. So it's pseudo-nationalism. It's because these extremists, they hide behind the banner of nationalism to begin to do evil things, express their racist feelings. And we saw that coming up, British far right protesting. So it was anti-Black Lives Matter protest. And it went on for a long time. People like, oh, we want our country back. Who took it? How can one person take a whole country? I wish I could. At least I would be a billionaire because all the money would be in my account then. Anyway, that aside, it's just the weak way of looking at things and way of thinking that racist tendencies come. So we are in a country right now, and it's very divided. We saw Italy, as I introduced, footballers playing. 50 years it took English team to get where it was. Listen, to get where it got, it was a collective effort of all those players, all of them. But come the time of reckoning, when Italy won, when England won, now it became, oh, it's the fault of the three black players who missed their penalties. And all this coming out. I mean, let's start with you, Vicky. What do you make of all these racist abuse to these players? How did it come across to you?
I mean, okay, so I'm going to speak from three different perspectives. First of all, as a woman, as an African, having traveled in Europe, it's very, very embarrassing, first of all. The way other Europeans also look at Britain right now, it's very embarrassing. That I'm just going to stop there. It's very embarrassing, full stop. Secondly, yeah, I saw a few memes which were really hit home, and I had to just take the light-hearted version of this, like, three lions on the shirt. Lions actually come from Africa. So all of those, I had to hold on to that side of it. And the incredible young Black men who have just showed so much elegance and dignity through it, completely counteracts the shamefulness of the people who are behaving like that and representing Britain right now at a time that Britain definitely does not need that kind of representation. Thirdly, I want to acknowledge the Black leadership behind the scenes too, and that is Chris Powell. He's the assistant Tottenham coach, I think, at the moment, and he was on the field pretty much the whole time. I met him personally and know him personally, but the way he has, and if you look at his whole entire career, he's been on the front, but he's been in the background in the football business, and you can see the kind of the caretaking that he's doing of these young Black men behind the scenes as well. So I just wanted to acknowledge his role and other Black, football business people that are also playing their role in the background. But yeah, one, very embarrassing. Two, so honourable for the way that they're handling it in front of the pitch and behind the pitch. I'm not much of a football person. My partner used to play football professionally a long time ago, so football is we've been pretty engaged throughout this season. But it's just shocking that at this time, after everything that's happened, that level of racism would come. They would double down on that at this time. It's just shocking.
Indeed. A man called JJ. A man called J.
Right. Okay.
Interesting times, eh?
It's very interesting. This is how I see it. People are looking at the events which are taking place now, but we are forgetting the history. You have to remember this is not new. What these guys, Rashford, Saka, and Sancho, what they have gone through. You have to remember in 18, I think it was it in 1820 or thereabout, 1800s or maybe early 1900, the very first black player to step on the pitch. You just imagine the abuse he endured, but he stayed there. He says, well, you know what? If I quit now, there will be no black players. Imagine 200 years until now. That's why now we are starting to see black players coming through. You have to remember how things are structured here in Britain. There is Britain and there is England. So for
explain, JJ. Explain.
Yeah. All right. So if some people had their way, they would rather have only English. I'm talking about the white English football players. Because the rest of us, whether you've got a British passport, you are not English. You are British. So you have to remember that. So that's why you see when you ask, but where is the British team? There is no British team. So the whole thing is structured from the top. And then we get confused by these small hooliganism because these are the forefront. These are the guys who are blowing the trumpet of racists. I am not saying that everybody is a racist in UK. My wife is English. I have got half English children. But there are those who are born to be racists. You will never change them, and you cannot do anything to change them. But what we need to look at is the structure. Britain and England. Even if you have got the best player from Scotland, he's not going to play for England. Or you get a best player from Wales, he's not going to play for England. So now what do you see these young boys, Raheem wasn't born here, but he I think because he acquired the British system, so they see him as an English person, but because of his playability. But Rashford, Saka, and who else? Sancho, they were all born here. But believe me, on their passport is not going to say English. They will say British. So this is where socially we really need to be able to identify and differentiate those kind of movements. So let me stop here. I think I've spoken enough. Yes.
Well, let me start by disagreeing with you because my friend,
Yes.
I have big friends in different big quarters. My friend Nelson Mandela.
Yeah. Yes.
I knew you would laugh about that. My friend Nelson Mandela, he once said, a mind that can be told to hate, that mind can be told to love, because love comes more naturally. And therefore,
Interesting.
when we say anyone is born to be racist, I don't think it is the case, because let me tell you something about creation. We come to a world which is brand new to us when we are babies. We know nothing about this world. And all these things we adapt as we grow as children. They are the values in the society, they are the values in our families that we grow from. And I don't think anyone is born to be a racist. And I don't think that is impossible to change people. You see, when you look into the history again, I will tell you something. When Africa was, divided in Europe, and all these, all these countries from the West, your German, your Britain, going to colonize Africa, they were there forever and ever. Let me tell you something. When I watch some of the thinking behind these people who went to colonize countries was amazing. I remember watching one settler in, I think it was in Kenya. It's a documentary known as End of Empire, and this guy is talking about, I never wanted to ever leave Kenya. We came here. We hear this. We deepened the soil. Without this, land is for us in perpetuity. Now, who deepens soil? Give me a break. How can you deepen soil? You see, the thinking is that we are here to stay forever and ever. But was that the case? No, 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 no. Freedom fighters told us that you can free yourself from the chains of colonialism. We have seen also in South Africa the chains of apartheid, where it was rampant and it went on for so many years. I think South Africa is one of the recent graduates from this, because their freedom came properly just early 90s when Nelson Mandela was released from Robben Island, where he was sentenced for 27 years. So therefore, when you look at this, we cannot say people cannot change. You see, what happens is the narrative that the majority ends up buying. And I had this conversation with someone like, should we actually talk about all these hate words? Should we bring them to the limelight? I'm like, yes, bring it on. Because if you hide it, then all these social evils are covered by darkness of evilness, if there's a word like evilness. And when it's there, impunity increases. The doers of the evil, they think they got away with it because no one is talking about it, no one is complaining about it. And that's where, again, another friend of mine, Martin Luther King, said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And then he also said, hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. So when you look at all this, we want to live in a world which is in the light, which is shining, shine the evils. Let's talk about it. Let them stop doing them. I don't know what you think, Vicky.
I don't know. I have to disagree a little bit with you, quite a lot actually, because I think that if we want to go back to history, the fact that Africans are in America, the fact that Black people are spread all over the world is because of Britain. They led this distribution. They were the distribution portal of Black people across, of Africans across they're the most responsible, correct? So I think that this mentality of, the I'm trying to be careful with my words right now, of
Okay.
Great Britain, even in the title itself, can embed in the culture. I'm not saying obviously all British people or all English people are like that, but it can be embedded in the culture. Just how you have certain ways about Kenyans or East Africans that it is embedded in us. And that has come through history, that has, it's been passed on, and it's been become part of our DNA, whether that's culturally, socially part of our DNA, or actual our ingrainedness or our attitudes of thinking, because you can't take it out. Even in Sweden, like for an example, they have this concept called lagom, lagom, and that means not too little, not too much. And you can see that across majority of Sweden, right? Doesn't matter if you have loads of money or just a little bit. Houses are not going to be huge mansions. It's going to be a level of not too little, not too much. And it's been embedded in their culture. So I think that history of Britain having this greatness, and you can go and see and take cultural artifacts and all of this ego is still embedded in the culture today, in institutions, as well as a lot of the attitudes. However, now that people are a lot more educated, those systems and those concepts refusing to adjust is what is holding I think and I fear of that is what will be the takedown of Britain if it doesn't start to really work on adjusting those things.
I can't put it any better. Before we go to a man called Jay, we are going for a quick break. Stay tuned. Be with us. Ask questions, share.
Niajiwase. TapTap Send Money Transfer has launched its app in Kenya. Send money to M-Pesa and Kenyan bank accounts. Send money quickly at the best rate, hassle-free. Available in the UK, France, Italy, Spain, Netherlands, Belgium and Germany. Turkey too.
Yes, a man called Jay.
Now,
What's your take on this?
right? Are we talking about diversity, or what are we talking? I just want you to lead me so that I can actually.
Yeah, okay. It's still
Right.
doing the same thing. Does Britain appreciate its diversity? And of course, we have seen this through the history. Now we are seeing this through football. Let me properly then jump into a different issue. Let me just give us two observations made in reaction to the footballers' plight. It's not gone yet, it's still there. Remember the time after George Floyd, English football teams, they started to take the knee before the match. That was criticized by Prime Minister Boris Johnson, current, Home Secretary Priti Patel was not 100% was whether that was a great idea, but the question is, why were they doing that? They were in support of a movement which is anti-racism, yeah. And when we talk about racism, it's very much touched into diversity, because appreciation of diversity is the idea that whichever career you are doing, whichever pursuit in life you are doing, whether you are excelling or not, you are still part of the community. You're still part of the society. But we are living in a culture, as we have seen, given the plight of these three footballers, especially mainly when we are also focusing on diversity. This experience, their experience, the three of them, tell us one very important thing. And this is, the society will appreciate you when you are scoring, when you are winning. That moment, you're English, or even you're British. If you're a footballer and you hit the ball and there was a score, your chance long comes, they really love you. It won't matter where you come from that moment. You're British, you're English. But the moment you have lost, you missed a penalty, now you are black. Now you are not part of the society. No one is appreciating you. They are hurling insults to you. The society tells us one thing: whatever you call diversity is extremely one-sided. There is that society, not entire British society. I've got lots of great English people, great British people who can cry just like I can cry, people who hate racism just like as much as I hate it. They are there. Fantastic, great people who believe in the best, and they appreciate you whether you win or you lose. But there is that group of lazy people. Let me tell you something. When you see this, someone who can hurl insult to someone because they were doing something they failed. No. What are you doing yourself? Having a pint, cheering the game. What else do you do after that? Ignorance is what also drives racism a lot. So let me see two reactions to this, and then I'll bring you on. And still remember, it's all diversity, is touching on diversity. So when young boy saw Marcus Rashford kick that penalty and he missed it, this boy looked at him that moment, how he was reacting to the loss himself. Yeah, himself. And this boy is looking at Marcus, how he's so devastated just because the fact that he missed the penalty. And this is what the boy wrote to Marcus in support of him. And this is an English great child. Yeah. He says, I hope you won't be sad for too long, because let me start again. I hope you won't be sad for too long, because you are such a good person. Last year you inspired me to help people less fortunate. The last night you inspired me again to always be brave. I'm proud of you. You'll always be a hero. Yeah. So this is a small boy. He has seen how this fella reacted to the loss. He was devastated. But someone out there thinks, how can you miss the penalty? You are such a bad, and they begin to call him names. Really? Okay, that was one reaction number one. Let me come to reaction number two, and then you go focus on that. So the second one was Mario Balotelli. I think you guys know Mario Balotelli. He's a footballer, a very famous pro footballer. You know, his words were different. He said, I challenge you, all African footballers, to put money together with me to leave the racist Europe and build stadiums in Africa and develop our youth. We have money, we can build at least 5 world-class stadiums in each country. Sign petition that no players will be exported to Europe ever again. Here in Africa, they will play under love of their sisters and brothers, with no one singing racist chants on the stands against them. We are talented. We can make our Champions League quality and our leagues quality. We have got great talent that is never appreciated abroad. It's over to you now. We are still on diversity. You wanted to talk first, Vicky.
Well, I think regarding the first remark, I think that's a generational thing, and it's really beautiful to see this younger generation in Britain who are just a lot more aware. I just think the younger generation, having taught even young people, and teaching young people. I remember one of the young people, we were talking about this in context of the media industry, and to see those young people, big up Berkshire College of Agriculture, Creative Artists Department, they had so much opinions that you would have thought the passion around it was just as passionate as if you had a bunch of Black students there too, like just talking about like, how is the media industry this racist, or how is like even one student was like, yeah, just don't trust British people. Like, he was a British boy himself, but he's fully aware of the history that is being echoing. I'm not saying that that's what it was said in very joking context, of how French take the mick out of themselves, how Kenyans take the mick out of themselves. So let me just clear that up. And he didn't mean to say it like that as a serious point. The other what Balotelli said is so true. Like, and build. We can build if we choose to build. But I think first we need to build mentally together as African people, first of all, or as an African diaspora together, to rebuild the sense of culture and family before we go back. And
yeah,
this is the catalyst, this discussion being the catalyst, then I'm all for it. But yeah, I think if there's a whole different, having been in Kenya recently as well, like this lack of diversity in Britain, just coming back to it, is playing out and rippling out right back to Africa. Let's not think that we can just pack up and leave and go to Africa and build and everything's going to be happy. No, it is in here, in our minds, because the people in Africa are looking at us thinking we have it made. So we'll be going back ready to either bring pots of gold, metaphorically. So there's a lot
Yeah.
that mentally that has to change the people in Africa to say, well, no, what you have is what is valuable. Actually, that's the reason why Europe, UK went to Africa to do what it had to do, pillage Africa and take the things that we have. So stop wearing all these brands, I'm not going to name them, and start wearing your own things, because that's what they wanted in the first place. So I feel like the mentality before we go back to Africa has to start with reconnecting with Africa here and as a people. Hi, Pauline.
Welcome,
Hi, how
welcome,
you
Dr.
doing?
Pauline. We are happy you are able to join us. Viewers, our Dr. Pauline Long is a television presenter. She's a philanthropist. She's the great founder of BEFTA UK, actually BEFTA Global. And she's done a lot for this country and other countries too. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I must apologize for running late. You know, sometimes the motorway is not exactly how we expect. So,
We
but
won't
I'm
hold
really
you to
proud.
overspeed for anything.
I'm proud to join this amazing discussion. And I hope you guys are well. You guys are safe. Vicky, so lovely to see you. Brilliant. You are shining just like the queen that you are. Still a queen.
Yes, and you too. You too. It's an honor.
Thank
Pauline's
you.
an OG in the game. She's been bringing diversity to Britain since,
Yeah.
how long?
No, it's great. It's great to see you. And I don't know whether you've been following where we are.
So update me, please.
Yeah, we
I
just
came in
came
when Vicky was
from,
speaking about,
yeah,
you know, wearing our own brands and just being us, you know, not
yeah.
begging for acceptance. Yeah.
Yeah, I came from the back at the back of talking about the reactions of two people just after the racist abuse to the three players. One from was from a boy who was applauding his hero, happens to be Marcus Rashford, who was one of the people who missed penalty, subject to racist abuse and all that. And also we talked a bit about Balotelli, who is a footballer, telling other footballers, had enough of this racism. Let us go back to Africa. Let's build world-class stadium over there. Let us also now up our game as African players. Let us sign petition never to export good footballers from Africa again, so that we will play within the love of our sisters and brothers on the ground. So that's what we were chatting about. And actually, a quick reaction to JJ. You were about the next culprit. Yeah, I mean, you are the next in line to react to that. What's your take on it, briefly?
Well, look, I will support Balotelli actually, anytime, any day. And the reason why I'm saying this, why we are not taken seriously, because we don't have a voice. Take for example, we have got Pauline Long here. Yeah, she came up, she created her own awards, whereas everybody was just thinking why the BBC doesn't give us awards, why the ITV, why. Man, I'm always saying, I am always having beef with the voice. And believe me, I sometimes call this guy, what is his name? The voice, the proprietor now. I think he's the director. I've forgotten his name.
Yeah.
I keep telling him, please, right now, when something happens to us, we are talking about the Daily Mail abusing us. We are talking about the Sun. We are talking about, why can't we talk about the voice? The voice. The voice has got 3 million people which can sell the paper every day to those people. But we are still looking at the BBC. We are still looking at and this is where they catch us. Now, also, we are not supporting each other the way we are supposed to support each other. I understand this one, Kanye King. When she created Mobile Awards, she had to sell her house. I don't know what, Pauline, what did you sell?
No. She hasn't told anything yet.
I I took food from my children's mouth, basically.
Uh-huh. No, no,
You
no.
know,
Say that again so that people can actually hear.
I
Because,
took food from my children's mouth. You know,
uh-huh.
I fully, and I
Yeah,
still fully found BEFTA. And I'm not complaining
yeah, yeah.
because this is this is what we need to do as a people.
Yep.
We need to talk less and
Mm-hmm.
then we need to do more.
Yeah.
So whatever sacrifices that I make, whatever sacrifices that Kanya King made, whatever sacrifices that you're making, Julius is making, Vicky's making, and anybody in the diaspora is making is valid. And so I think that what we need to do is just to continue encouraging us to make those sacrifices and also just to speak as one voice. I know that sometimes we might sit on a round table and everybody has different opinions, but when it comes to crisis, surely one voice matters, you know? Now, we know that racism is here, and prejudice of any form, tribalism, they're here to stay. But what we can't do is excuse any form of prejudice, excuse racism and say, oh, these people that were racist have lack of education, or there are people that have lived in deprived areas. What are you going to say about the racists who come from affluent families, the racists who have PhDs and masters and that? What kind of education do they need? Which page did they miss of that book, of that education book? So I think that first of all, we have to start as a people by not excusing racism, because a lot of people say, oh, it's ignorance. No, it's not ignorance. It's hate. It's hate. It's pure and simple. It's hate. It's a form of bullying, and so it must not be excused. It needs to be called out, whether in institutions, whether in the supermarket, whether in the football pitch, as we saw, on and off. It just needs to be called out. But then again, very important, we're not asking just us, black people, to call out racism. Everybody needs to call out racism. White people need to join in and call it out. you know and so when I know that we are encouraging us to buy our own brands, but very, very important is we need to come up with brands that are accepted globally. I am not one who will sit here and encourage an African based in London to open a small shop to sell matoke. I'm not going to encourage you to do that. No.
It's true.
I'm gonna
It's
I'm
true.
gonna ask you instead to have a shop that sells milk, a shop that sells bread, a shop that sells toothpaste, that sells stuff that even the white person will come and buy from you. Now, acceptance and respect comes from that.
Let,
So
let,
Yes,
let,
in
let,
a
let,
way,
let,
Dr. Colin, to interject on that one.
let
You
me,
see, you see these
Julius,
days, okay.
I need really to add one more thing. What Pauline has just said, there is this talk about when a black person puts up a shop, always they put a label, this is black owned, black owned. Why do you have to sing it is black owned? I don't get
Well,
it.
well, well, listen. I've seen also uh, pastors when they start their own churches, they call
Yeah.
them very interesting names. Holy Ghost Fire Ministries. So even the name itself is a bit scary because you don't know what kind of fire that is.
I
Julius,
I
go.
have I have to
So
add,
I wanted to say, I
Pauline.
wanted to let me say this one before we come to you. The
Yeah.
thing is, there's nothing wrong with selling matoke, but you have to promote
No,
your brand
absolutely
because
nothing. Hmm.
what I'm saying, I've seen fantastic restaurants owned by Africans, and as we are speaking today, I see customer come from across races, from different backgrounds to eat, and they appreciate chapati. And remember this: when a lot of tourists go to countries in Africa, they don't go for your daily fish and chips. they adapt to the menus over there. They like nyama choma, they like barbecues, which tends to be very appreciated on the ground in Africa. So actually, there's nothing wrong. It's how you brand your whatever you're gonna sell, and also
Yes.
addition of value. So that I agree with you, so that it's acceptable and appealing to everyone globally.
Yeah. I mean, we're in a global village, so we also need to get in there globally, you know. And we as Africans and generally Black people, we tend to, you know, complain, even go on forums and complain about how Black people don't support Black people. Right. So you already know that you've got this shop selling only matoke or plantain, and you're targeting Black people who are not supporting you. Now, you're
Not
causing
everyone
that
eats
pain
matoke.
yourself already. So what I'm trying to say is it's okay to sell the matoke or plantain, but mix it. Put it, you know, attract other, you know, have a business that's going to attract, you know, other races as well. So that you're not hurting, you're not spending your entire time always complaining that Black people are not supporting you. You cannot put a gun on someone's head and say, because you're me and you are the same color, please you have to buy from me. Come on, it's
Yeah.
not possible.
Vicky?
So we have to change the strategy of how we think. We know where the problem is. So then why don't we change the strategy and find a solution without always pointing fingers? Because the
I
finger
agree.
pointing sometimes just it drowns every good that we do. You know, I'm tired of hearing the complaints and the what, you know, it just drowns every good that
Yeah.
we do. It drowns every great things that we manufacture or establish, you know. And so we need to be just open. We need to be more open to mix, you know. It doesn't
Yeah.
hurt. And yes, JJ, you know, you said about the you know, the sticker, the Black owned
Naming.
sticker. You know, I'm not against whoever wants to put that sticker. It's fine, you know, if it works for them. But if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a global entrepreneur and you're in a global space and you know what works for you, then maybe you don't want to put that sticker. But if your target is a certain, you know, it's only Black people, and bear in mind when we say global, some people will get put off by that sticker, that so what, it's Black owned, you know. And also we do have, you know, I know Black people that have businesses in the UK, but they will always say that they won't put their face at the front. They want to put a white person at the front so that the business can do well. Now, I don't agree with that as well, too. You know, we that in a way you're excusing prejudice.
Exactly.
You own the business, you run the business. Why do you want to say so that people can, so that white people can accept you and your business? Then you want to put a white person at the front and you stay at the back banner and have nothing to do with it. You as a Black person, number one, you're excusing prejudice. You know, we need to normalize walking into rooms as just as we are Black and powerful. We need to
Thank you. Thank you.
normalize it.
Thank you. Vicky,
So
what's your
I
take?
I have a demonstration, and I think the best way to do this is demonstrate it and not talk.
Yes.
These are my bags, Kyondos. My main customer is white middle class women. Trying to launch this over a number of years, made in Kenya by rural women, trademarking things, has been all me. Trying to get a team, preferably on the ground in Kenya, has been a nightmare. And I've had to go through so many different things. Getting opportunities to sell it is great because they are beautiful, and I've had to graft to find a way to be a global entrepreneur, that it doesn't matter whether I have a Black face and it's made by Black people. For me, what's important is it's empowering African women, but it's made in the way from our heritage, the way we made it. No plastic, no nothing. And it has this shape of how it's supposed to be, not these kyondos that you see are manufactured that are by leather and machines that are selling for £2,000 by a white or European company. That was my mission. That is my mission, to do that. So happens to be also, it comes from my heritage. I'm African, I'm Kenyan, I'm all of these things. However, trying to go to, let's say, approach certain buyers, thanks to the BLM movement now, great, it's Black owned. All of that work, just for that punchline, it's very disheartening, but at the same time, I'm going to take the opportunity if I have to. So, but I think it goes back to what Pauline says, is that we cannot excuse the lack of diversity in places, but we also cannot excuse our own organization, because when we go and ask for investment, first of all, women hardly get any investment, let alone Black women, even though we are the most entrepreneurial on this planet. Facts. But the fact is, when we say who is our team, they need to be able to look behind and see a strong team that is capable. Now, that's where I feel that going away from a victim mentality to a warrior mentality is that we have been so colonized and separated mentally, that to come together as people, for me to go to my aunties, uncles, friends, cousins and say, look, I have this, I'll give you a share in a company and we build this together. We don't think like that. So how are we going to also start to lead spaces if we're not coming together and leading ourselves?
That's a fantastic question, and we are going to play the last clip, and time is running on us. The key thing is that we need to embrace diversity, and actually it's a two-way traffic. It's not one-way traffic. Let us re-examine ourselves, our perceptions, our actions, and our attitudes. Let us be our self-best critics. And then when we do that, let us find out what is really kind of not working for us, and let us unite. And when we unite also, we need to also understand we are here to confront stereotypes, to confront racism, to say no to racism, as the next clip is talking about. JJ.
Let me see. Let me. Yes.
Black lives still matter. Remember
Yes.
that?
Oh.
UNESCO clip. UNESCO.
Oh, UNESCO, sorry.
Many of us like to think of racism as something from the past, something that no longer holds sway over our societies, something that no longer exists.
But World War II took place less than a century ago. Survivors of the Holocaust are still alive today.
The Jim Crow's laws were enforced until 1965.
L'apartheid a été une réalité jusqu'en 1991.
We live in a world where people face barriers to education, employment, health, justice, and culture just because of the color of their skin.
Where people are discriminated against, excluded, stigmatized, attacked, or even murdered.
Just because of where they come from, what they look like, or what they believe in.
No more.
No more. No more.
Hoy decimos basta.
El racismo y la discriminación son causados por la ignorancia y el miedo a lo que creemos diferente.
ويخترقان هياكلنا الإدارية وثقافتنا الشعبية وتحيزنا وفرضياتنا اللاواعية.
But this doesn't have to be the case.
You, me, us, we can create the change that we want.
By defending quality education for all, we can combat the root causes of deadly stereotypes and prejudices.
By developing historical knowledge and critical thinking, we can improve our understanding of the past.
By encouraging cultural diversity, especially at the local level, We can build societies that are more respectful of others.
By empowering the younger generation,
we can help them shape the world to come.
So, stop watching from the sideline.
Read, observe, learn, and listen.
We must hold ourselves accountable.
We must hold our societies accountable.
We are all one humanity.
Keep quiet is not an option.
Is not an option.
Di lo que piensas.
Speak up.
Speak up. Take action.
Take action.
Take action.
Yes, indeed. Speak up and take action. And to our viewers, wow, unfortunately, we are coming to the end. When I thought we were just starting, oh my goodness. But we are so grateful that you've been with us. We are thankful that you have, been here with us. We have learned a lot, and therefore, I don't want to complicate things. Speak up and take action. We all have to say no to racism by all means necessary. Been your host, Julius Mbaluto. So it's over from us. Thank you for being with us in Julius Mbaluto Live. Until next time, it's bye from us.